What if I told you that making vegan food is the worst thing you can possibly do? Sounds crazy, right? But stick with me. It's a true story. A while back, I was invited to a famous culinary school in America, just for the weekend. It was an event about the future of plant-based food. There were doctors there speaking to how all the benefits of plant-based and the nutritional aspect. There were chefs there sharing recipes and techniques. There were supporting brands there. There were companies there trying to learn how they could implement more plant-based onto their menus. Everybody was taking part of the event. So go figure, to my surprise, when we break for lunch, and it's a catered by the culinary school that's putting on this plant-based event, and only 10%, if that, was actually plant-based and vegan. The rest were all animal products, or had animal products in them, as if they didn't know what they were doing. Or they did it on purpose because they were being sponsored by some other animal-based brand. So not only was 10% of it only plant-based that I could eat, but it wasn't even good. It was like treated as an afterthought. I was literally beside myself. How could this culinary school I've always looked up to, that supposedly churned out amazing chefs, really didn't put any thought into this vegan options at all. And it was a plant-based vegan event. I'm not gonna name the school, but there's only a handful of them. So some of the dishes were like sad steamed vegetables with no seasoning at all. There was like quinoa there. The typical rabbit food, everybody thinks that's what vegan is. There was no creativity, there was no flavor, and there was definitely no appeal, especially like for me, none. I didn't want to eat any of it. It was all thrown together to check a box. Does that sound familiar? If you look at today's, any cafeterias, they're checking a box. Airports, airlines, they're checking a box. Horrible vegan meals. I mean, there's a couple airlines that are just starting to put out some nice ones. But even restaurants, they just check a box. So why does vegan and plant-based food often feel like a compromise? Because what if I told you it was the mindset? It was the mindset of the chefs making the food that will make the difference. The idea of just having to check a box and make something vegan, a vegan alternative, is exactly what's holding everybody back. The idea of just making something vegan instead of creating amazing, delicious food first that just happens to be vegan is what's holding people back. It was one of the first things I learned about myself when I first started going vegan, because there was no way I was going to compromise A, on my technique of cooking, B, on flavor, and C, if I was going to feed anybody, damn well right, it's going to be amazing. So just imagine treating every vegetable, every grain, every ingredient with the respect and creativity you would with any animal product. That's the difference. And the food that I make doesn't match the animal product. It exceeds. It's much better. It's all about building the flavors to each level. That's what I'm going to show. It's just how to build the flavors. Again, you don't have to make it as complex as I'm making it right now. You can go super simple. You could use frozen veg. You could use just the water. You don't have to use so many seasonings. You don't have to use as much salt. You don't have to use oil. You make it however you want. But the techniques, the way that I'm doing it is just layering flavors. Every single ingredient is just another ring in the ladder that makes that flavor pop. And by the time I sit down and eat this, it's gonna be so freaking good. Yeah, that's the mindset. It's the mindset that I have. It's the mindset I wish a lot more companies would take up. And I certainly wish a lot more of these culinary schools would start putting vegan, plant-based actually at the head, the top of the menu. Put it at the top of the menu, not at the bottom. It's the animal products that should be served as a condiment, if at all. I'm trying to exclude them at all because you shouldn't have to use them. If you can make plant-based vegan food as amazing as it can be, why bother with the animals?